Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Before I go any further, that is like the most unchristian Christian song I've heard. You know what I
The most
mean?
unchristian Christian song ever.
Yeah, like I don't think he's a Christian artist, I guess.
Well,
But what you can take is what he says and being like, you know what, I don't answer to no man. I'm still going. That's
I answer to God and God alone,
yeah, exactly,
and the
man.
Republican Party. I'm done.
We're not 37
Yeah,
seconds
it's
into
fine.
this, and you're already
I know.
making really
Shots,
lewd comments, mean comments, mean tweets, mean tweets.
God.
So yeah, but anyways, welcome you guys to another fun-filled, frantic episode of People Suck, Love Them Anyways, and we are so thankful that you survived this week. We're so thankful
Barely
that
for some.
for some, man, this is crazy, and I will say this, and not to poke fun at mental health or anything else in this world, man. But I'm hearing that there were like 15, maybe 1,800 people that took their lives because of the outcome of the election.
I had not seen that.
You haven't seen that?
No.
I may try to pull up a news source here in a minute to do that, man. But like, I mean, let's just be honest for a second. Like, nothing in this world is that serious, especially a presidential election, that you feel that you're like deuces, I'm out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I know this took a very dark turn. Really.
Yeah.
I know you're like Pastor Keenan. Like, what are we doing? But no, man, I heard that and like it grieved my soul a little bit. It really did. To think that people like that. I don't know if it's the fact of that they are that involved in politics or that it's that much fear in their life or whatever the case is. Which and I don't know exactly how they know, like how the people that are reporting that are like they took their life
They
because
left a
of the
note,
election.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe type situation, man. But like all jokes aside, like that is insane to me. That people would be to that point, I guess, in life, that they would feel like that is the only option. And man, it's just crazy. So let's start off with that stat.
Yeah, it's pretty killer.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just crazy to me, man. I know we were like, yeah, I hope you made it through this week, but it's um, like where are we? I know we talked a lot last week just about the generation that we live in today and things like that, man. But like, where are we as a society? Where are we as Christians? I feel like today, man, that like that we let the outcome of something like this, which was the basis of a lot of my message today, but that we let the outcome of something like this, like a presidential election, man, just I mean, it's like we either have hope in man now or we don't, or all this is going to change or it's not, or now I can't talk to you because I know how you really feel, or
Which
whatever
is
the
backed up by Harvard scientists.
uh,
I did see that article.
really.
Yeah, they like I guess some Harvard psychiatrists or scientists were like, it is perfectly okay for you to avoid holidays this year because of your relatives' political affiliations.
Man,
And I was
Harvard
like,
knows best, I
I
guess,
guess
right?
so. Yeah.
I just, man, like I don't get it. Like I don't understand it. Where have we grown as a society that, well, we've not grown, we've actually regressed. But where have we come to where we can't have a conversation anymore? I'm talking an adult conversation where we can agree to disagree, I guess, or we're not having conversations to change people's minds or to change people's outlooks, but we're having conversations to understand people better.
To learn.
Yeah, to learn. And it's like, where has that went to? Has it never been a thing? Have I just missed it, or I mean, has it never been a thing where we've grown together in unity and equality, or through conversation, or is it the fact of that we've never had it, and like literally, it's just as I get older, I'm starting to see more of it.
I don't know. I mean, like I think 'cause, I mean, if you're looking back, back in, let's say, 40s, 50s, 60s, neither of us were alive during that time period.
True.
But just thinking back, the mentality of make America great again. Like where did that greatness back when that greatness was a thing. I guess if you're thinking that's when America was great, was back in those days, however you want to say it. Like what has changed from that moment to into where we're at now?
We still had oppression. We still had racism. We
Yeah,
still
we still had
had
racism was rampant in those
yeah.
days. Like, I mean, back in those days. So
Yeah.
it's just like, at
Do you
what
think
point
it
in
was the
time are we trying to
70s
get
and
back to?
80s? I mean, was it the
I mean,
70s and 80s?
racism
The
was tough.
music, the
I mean,
music was good.
yeah, well, shoot, we learned today racism's still alive and well in Hodgenville. So,
Yeah,
it's
this
just
is
like,
true.
and I mean, it's just like, what exactly are we trying to get back to? Because I'm like, and what has changed from then until now that makes it no longer that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just that we've, as a society, have become more diverse. There's more people with different mindsets, different, whatever identities, religions, whatever else you want to throw out
Have
there.
we become less dependent upon God?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
yeah.
I mean, I
Have
think
we
it's a
taken the
little bit.
reins ourselves more than we ever used
Yeah.
to?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
You know,
mean, that's for sure.
but I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's hard not having lived there. And I think, we have an older gentleman in the church, Harden. He's been on the podcast. Hearing his experiences about, some of this stuff was, enlightening. I
Yeah.
think, just hearing, how he saw the world back in those days, compared to how it is now. Just trying to make sense of things, and telling us things that we maybe, weren't aware of or didn't know of, that were going on back then. And it's interesting just to me, I think, because we spend so much time trying to get back to something. It's like we're always looking back, we're always trying to get back to something, and where we're at now is not good. We need to get back to where we were. And then it's just like, well, what point in time were things good? It's just like, it's like we're trying to get back to what.
Well, it was good for some, and in certain,
It's still good for some,
and in certain areas, right? And that's where I think really the ability to have a conversation and a connection is what is important. Is to be able to sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, what is going on? Why do you feel like this? Why are you in this situation, or why do you have this mindset for? I was telling the church today that I feel like, a very productive conversation this week at work with a Muslim. And that just like, that wowed people. Like, you had a productive conversation with a Muslim. Absolutely. Why? Because he has his beliefs and standards. I have my beliefs and standards. And I didn't go into the conversation with the mindset, I'm right, you're wrong, you're going to hell, have a good day. Or
enjoy your virgins.
Yeah, exactly. Or I didn't go into the conversation thinking to myself, it's my prerogative to change his mind, to change him, to change his belief system. Like, I didn't go into the conversation like that. I literally went into the conversation, if you want me to be quite blunt and honest, to learn more about why he felt the way he did and why he believed the way that he did. And I mean, we sat and talked. But one thing that really stuck out to me is that he made the statement. He said, I've really enjoyed our talk, to be honest. He said, because he said, most Christians that I've tried to sit down and talk to and just have a conversation, he said, they get mad, they get angry, and he said they end up just leaving. They don't even have the conversation. And he posed me with this question. He said, if a Christian ever expects me to convert and to change, how do they think it would happen by ending a conversation? And I was like, bro, you have spoke so much. Like, say less.
Thanks for writing my sermon, by the way.
Yes, say less, bro. Say less. And I was like, that is so monumental. And so I was thinking about conversations and just stuff like that, and about how, as Christians, and not only as Christians, but just people in general, that we can be so narrow-minded a lot of times, and it's our way or the highway type situations, or I'm right, you're wrong. And just a lot about how I feel like we take the Bible, and we narrow it down to our belief system, to what we want to promote or what we want to talk about. And we use the Bible, as we've said many a times, more like a magnifying glass than a mirror. And we're scared to have those conversations with people, because I don't really know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know really why we're scared to have those to learn about people and to figure out, to figure out again why they are the way they are, where they are in life, why they think like that, and things like that. One thing that really spoke to me this week is I heard the phrase, the soil is not our problem, it is the seed. And or maybe I should say the soil is not our priority, it is the seed. And that really spoke volumes to me this week, because going into those conversations, we want to change the soil, but we've not been called to change the soil. We've been called to plant the seed. And it's like, if you go into a conversation or a situation with that mindset, I'm going to plant a seed today,
Mm-hmm.
not I'm going to change the world, I'm going to change a person, I'm going to change the narrative. I'm going to plant a seed. What does Paul say? Paul says, I might plant, I might water, but hey, it's God that brings the increase.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that if we went into conversations, relationships, jobs, whatever, that we would be more productive as people.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be more productive as Christians if we had that mindset. It's not the soil, it's the seed. The seed is our responsibility.
I think of it kind of like, if you're desperate, I'll start with that. If you're somebody who's desperate, like, you haven't ate in 6 weeks, back in a long time ago, 6 weeks,
6 weeks.
right? Yeah, I know. What is it, 40 days you can go without food? But you haven't eaten in a long time, right? That is a long time. But it's about what your son felt like earlier.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm starving.
You ain't eaten 6 days.
Yeah. If you haven't ate 6 days, something like that, you're desperate to see something. Maybe I think back to the farmers of like the Dust Bowl, and all those sorts of things. Where they were desperate for something to grow. They were desperate for some sign of food, something to pop out of that ground. When you're desperate, you don't necessarily care about how fruitful that soil is. It's my thought process here is, if my job is to plant the seed, water the seed, I'm not supposed to be worried about this. I'm desperate to see change. I'm desperate to see more people come to know Jesus. I'm desperate, so I'm not going to worry about how messed up, screwed up that dirt, that soil is, that person is. My job is to plant that seed and pray and hope that there is an increase in that seed that I have planted. And we oftentimes get so worried, so meticulous about, is that the right type of soil? Is this going to grow in that soil? How do I properly treat the soil? How do I properly do this or whatever with the soil? If you're desperate enough, you will plant the seed regardless of how bad, how messed up, how gross that soil is. What's in that soil? You will plant that seed regardless because you want to see it grow.
Yeah, well, even in the parable of the sower in the Bible, as Jesus is talking about it, like he gives four very distinct, different types of soil. And but the crazy part about that is that the farmer sows
Regardless.
on every one of those, on every one of those soils, the different type of soils. Now he only gets the production from the soil that's ready, from the soil that is primed and ready to grow. But it doesn't stop him from sowing in all areas or on all soil. And for us, it's like we don't even have conversations. It's like, if, as I was talking in church today, it's like, if you don't look like me, act like me, think like me, talk like me, walk like me, all that good stuff, I don't want to talk to you. Because why? Because, well, you're wrong, I'm right, and that's the gospel. And we have a really big problem of wanting to make people look more like us rather than look like Jesus. And because it's easier, because if I want you to look like me, I don't have to change. I want you to change. But in order for us to look like Jesus, we both got to change, or everybody has to change to reflect that. And what we talked about in the sermon today was, how far would you make it? How far would you make it in the process of the crucifixion? And that it's a good gauge to how much you love Jesus and how much you love people. Now I know we relabeled this podcast "People Suck," and they do, but you have to also say the last part of that, but love them anyways. And I know people are going to look and say, well, God chose Jesus to carry that cross because he knew that we couldn't. True. But what Jesus done with that cross was not only a crucifixion, but it was love in motion. It was love, it was poetry in motion. It was literally him writing a story of redemption and love and forgiveness as he was going through all of this. And I look at it like, putting myself in that, and I was reading the some of the scriptures off to Nick before we got started, or just talking about some of the processes. Let me read a scripture to you really quick, just to get you started, just to let you think about this. But over in Matthew 26:65, it says, "Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, 'He has spoken blasphemy. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look now, you have heard the blasphemy.'" 66 through 68 says, "What do you think? He is worthy of death." And they answered. Then they spit in his face, ooh, and struck him with their fists. Others slapped him and said, prophesy to us, Messiah, who hit you? Now, you talk about how far would you make it in the crucifixion process. Jesus hadn't even got to the trial. Jesus hadn't even got to the quote unquote celebration yet, where they give over a prisoner. They basically let him out of jail for free. Hadn't even got to that point yet. This is before crucifixion. This is him sitting in a back room with people who are accusing him, right, of not being who he says he is. And one of the first things I talked about today is, can you still love people if they attack your character?
I mean, are
Nick,
you
Nick,
asking
Nick
me,
is
or is
looking
it
at
like,
me. He's looking
yeah,
at
is it
me like, "What do
rhetorical,
you want me
or
to say?" No, I mean, it's not rhetorical, bro. I want to pick you apart. I want to
pick me apart?
I want to decimate you on this show. No, no. I mean, like literally, like that is a question I asked the church today. Can you still love people if they personally attack your character? Because we live in a society today where we think a response deems a response.
Mhm.
Somebody responds, so let me respond, and let me respond, and let me respond. And the quickest way for a response is for somebody to attack your character. You aren't who you say you are. You don't do the way that the way that you live or say you live or whatever. And we always think that it garners a response. And that is one of the quickest ways, because to get into an argument, to get into a
Mhm.
fight, and to, I think, really cut people off from having a from having a conversation. Burped up a little bit of
Uh,
donut right there, bro.
delicious.
But yeah, it was delicious coming back up too. No, but that is the quickest way to cut off a conversation, is how you respond, and
Mhm.
how you quote unquote retaliate. And I'm thinking to myself in that moment, like, I find it nowhere in the Bible, Nick, where it says that Jesus got up and slapped all of them, or Jesus
Mhm.
got up and said, "I'll show you who I am." And we as far as love, it's like, that is a really good checkpoint right there to go. There's going to be people that's going to talk about me. There's going to be people that's going to question. There's going to be people that questions us as a church, questions the way we do things and stuff like that. How do we respond? Well, we don't. And it's
Mhm.
taken me a long
The best
time.
response is no
Yeah,
response.
it's taken me a long time to get there. It has. And even like with this election deal, and I know everybody's got their own thought process. And if you want to vote, vote. If you did vote, great. If you didn't vote, whatever, type situation. But I look at, like, I look at the hatred, and I look at the division, and I look at, and it's on both sides, man. Like, it's like, in 16, when Trump lost, man, like I'll tell you, it was
He
crazy.
won.
He
16, he won. 2020, he lost.
Sorry, in 20. When Trump lost in 20, man, like, it was a meltdown.
Mhm.
Not by everybody, but by some people, it was a
I mean,
meltdown.
when he won in 16, there was a meltdown
Well, there
too.
was a meltdown, yeah. And it was like, man, it's like, what are we doing right now, And um, you know, like, I think about how, like, we talked about last week about how churches have embraced politics and things like that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an opinion. I'm not saying that. But what I am trying to, I guess, maybe verbalize right here is that, once you put yourself out there like that, you're setting yourself up in a political arena, where people aren't Christian, you know, and they're going to come at you, and they're going to question your values, your belief systems, what you stand for, everything else along the way. And I feel like if we pick or choose a side, I don't care, Democrat, Republican, whatever. If
Mm-hmm.
we choose a side, we are closing off conversation with the other side. You
100%.
know, and
Which Harvard says is the right thing to do.
yeah, exactly. Which at that point in time, when somebody says, "Well, if you don't choose a side and you go speechless,
Mm-hmm.
watch this. If you don't choose a side and you go speechless, then nobody will know what you stand for." And it's crazy to me how Jesus in this moment, he literally doesn't say a word,
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he even responds with, "Well, if you say that I am," it's like, "Are you the son of?" Well, if you say that I am,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like so. Jesus is not even responding with who he says that he is, or his mandate from heaven or anything else. Jesus, like,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever you say, bro. What
Yeah, you
whatever
don't
you
see
say.
Jesus saying, "Repent or you're going to hell." Like,
Or like, hey, what you're doing to me right now is not good.
mm-hmm.
Or I know your heart. Whatever the case is. But just one of the first points right there is basically like Jesus sits in silence while people hit him, curse him, spit on him, and Jesus's retaliation is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That blows my mind that the Bible calls us to be Christ-like, and we feel like, I guess, a lot of times that Christ-like is like standing up and having this
Mm-hmm.
roaring voice,
Yeah, it's
like
like our only
we
definition of Christ-like is Jesus in the temple throwing tables
it
and
is like, and I was thinking about that yesterday, like I think even we as a church, man, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm a fruitcake. Maybe like people are like, God, Keenan, like, are you out in left field when you talk about stuff like this, man? But I drive and I think, and I think and I drive. But I am unburned. No. But as I'm driving, man, like that was one of the first things I thought about yesterday. Was It's funny you brought that up. Was Jesus going into the temple and overturning tables and all of that good stuff, and so then people make this comedic joke about it, and they're like, whips and turning over tables is a viable option,
mm-hmm.
and things like that. And it's like, I want you to understand that Jesus loved the church so much that he was not doing this to he was doing this. I want you to watch, not as a correction to people, but as a love for the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I'm like, we missed that. Like, we think Jesus rolled up into that place and was like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong. This is the way that you're supposed to be doing it." We can take that, I feel like, away from it, because Jesus is like, you've made this house of prayer into a den of thieves. But I want you to understand that Jesus had so much love for the Father,
Mm-hmm.
that he was like, I'm coming in this place to make it right, not to condemn people, not to condone people, not to whatever the case, not to pick one side or the other. But he's like, this is a house of prayer, man. You're cheating people in here. You're letting a system replace the source, whatever. But like, Jesus is coming in because of his love for the Father to correct the house. It's not like he comes in again and says, "You're going to hell for doing this." He literally comes in and he's like, "I'm disrupting the system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disrupting the system that you've put into place, because this is not what my Father intended.
Mm-hmm.
My Father intended this to be a house of prayer, to be a house of worship, to be a house of unity. And you can't have unity whenever you're bringing in this system that divides people." And that, my friend, is where, like, I think about things like that, where it's like, you're letting a system, a democratic system, come in and divide
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah, I mean, I've thrown around the idea a couple of times before that we as Christians oftentimes try to emulate God rather than Jesus,
Oh man, I
which
said I said today. I don't mean to
yeah, go
cut you
ahead.
off. You can go back to it. I said today. I said, I feel like the church has been responsible for raising more judges than disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you want to be a judge, go back and read the book of Judges and see if you can uphold that standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, we have problems saying no to McDonald's. Okay, and we have
Yeah.
problems saying no to stuff that over in the book of Judges they're like, "Oh, you have touched something unclean."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's like, yeah, okay, like, you live that lifestyle and let me know how it works
Yeah,
out
I
for
mean,
you.
even
Good luck.
like even like in the book of Hebrews, like where they're trying to basically explain like this is how things used to work because
Yeah.
we were never going to be like human beings. Israelites were they were constantly at war with themselves. Like they would constantly mess up, constantly screw up, and they had to have all these things put in place, but they were never ever going to be enough. They were just a something that was taking time until Jesus could come on the scene. This was just a placeholder.
Yeah.
These were things to try and keep people from going into absolute chaos. Like the other people in the world were doing at this time. They were cutting themselves and worshiping different gods and sacrificing kids and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And God was like, eventually my son is going to come from this line of people. Like eventually I'm going to bring the family back together through these people. I can't have them out here killing each other. I done promised I wouldn't kill them all again, but like I can't have them, out here, sacrificing their kids and cutting themselves all up and doing all these sorts of different things. And so like he put these rules and laws in place, and when they skewed away from that, he put judges in place to help get them back on track. The Israelites could never self-govern. Like they could never get stuff together on their own. God had to send somebody every single time to correct them.
Yeah.
But again, I think getting back to what I was saying before Keenan really interrupted me was just the fact of I think we oftentimes try to emulate God and do His job rather than emulate Jesus and do what He did.
Yeah.
It's like we have to come on the scene and we have to say, you evil, detestable people, I'm going to cut you off, just like you prostituted yourself to the world, I'm going to rip you apart and kill your kids and do like all this stuff. Like we run into this like this hateful. Now again, like God is God. God is judge. God is judge of the universe. God has the final say, the first say, every say in between.
Yeah.
Like God is the only one who can make those types of those judgments and those types of phrases. How many times did I stop and think how many people in the church, how many Christians at the time probably damned Paul or Saul, I guess at the time, to hell. Like before he shifted over, how many people were ready to kill Saul and ready to get rid of him and ready to enact judgment on him?
Yeah, they were very standoffish.
And I'm like, they were ready to do all this. How many Christians at the time were ready to do those things to Paul? But God is like, hey, I have other plans for this person.
Well, and the crazy part, if you go back and look where Saul has his conversion to Paul, like as soon as Paul was converted after the fasting, he got his sight back and all that good stuff. What does the Bible say he did? He went to the temple and he started preaching. And I guarantee you there would be churches today in America that would literally kick Paul out the door because before he ever got to the pulpit, they would kick him out.
They call the cops.
Yep, because of who he used to be. Right, because of who he used to be. Oh, you're Saul. No, I'm Paul, man. I don't care who you are. You can call yourself whatever you want to. You ain't coming in this church. You kill Christians. You persecute Christians. I've been changed by the blood of the Lamb. I don't care. That's the mentality. And for us, again, that conversation level to be able to look and say, oh man, I tell you, okay, but Paul went to the temple and he just started preaching, man. And, I'm sure it probably made a lot of people frantic, but, we don't get to pick and choose, man, who the Lord uses or who the Lord sets and puts on the throne.
It's not our job to cut people's purpose short.
Yeah, man. I mean that's a good point too. Is like, just because I was one person in one season of my life doesn't mean that's who I am for my entire life. God's grace is definitely good enough and definitely extensive enough to go into any area of my life and cut out the bad and make it good.
It's crazy. There's like I'm sitting there thinking, all these things. You have so many Christians, so many. I mean, I'll just be honest, like far right extremists. Who may say and left, but in the context that I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess you can say left too. But I mean, so you have the extremists on either side that are like, the world would be a better place if you had people literally try to kill Donald Trump. You had people, the world would be better off if, that someone would just come in and kill all those people, or if someone would come in and just end that, or, as Hardin was saying back in the 60s and stuff, how he knew people that, was like, I wish they'd just take a garden hose to the blacks marching down Washington, like these people that have these twisted, horrific mentalities who also call themselves Christians, but say these things.
Right.
And you're like, who are you to say that this person is never going to accomplish anything other than what they are today?
Yeah.
It's just like, we want to end these people's lives, and we want to say that they are never going to accomplish, they are never going to amount to anything. We would be much better off if everybody just looked like me, talked like me, behaved like me, and then we would be saved. Like the world would be better.
Well, it's crazy, man, that we have that, and I don't know where that mentality really came from. I mean, I don't, and maybe it's just a comfort. I don't know if it's if it's just this mentality of let's just gravitate to the people that make me feel good, make me feel comfortable, and I'm going to stick with that. And I'm so proud, man, to pastor a even though it's not a lot, but I mean it's a multi ethnical church, where people can come in and sit down from all different races and backgrounds and things like that, and can hear the word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, as we were talking to a couple, me and you both, before they left today, the lady said, she said, I can wear sweatpants and tennis shoes in here and not feel judged.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I can literally come in here and sit down and not worry about what I have on, but I can focus on what's being said and done from the stage.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you did preach in a Carhartt beanie
I
today, so I
did,
mean, it's
bro, and I did, and I tore it
no
off.
head coverings.
Yeah, right, yeah. And you don't know how many people,
Mm-hmm.
like how many people would damn me to hell for that, for literally getting on a stage and preaching with
God
holes
can't pour into you with a hat on.
with holes in my jeans and a Carhartt beanie, and they're like,
Mm.
you have no respect for the pulpit, and it's like, you don't know how much respect I have for this pulpit, like,
Mm. You
um,
think he goes through what he goes through for
I,
the fun of
I
it?
right, like I have bled, sweat, cried, like the whole 9 yards, over this pulpit. Like, are you kidding me? How much respect? Like, respect for a pulpit is not reflected in what I have on. It's reflected in the heart position that I have before I get up here to preach the
Mm-hmm.
gospel.
Well, if
And
your heart position was right, you wouldn't dress that
I
way.
know, right? Like, and that, but see, like, I know you're doing
Mm-hmm.
that to joke,
Mm-hmm.
bro. But like, there are
Oh yeah,
people
100%. Yeah.
who will literally say that and use that and be like, yeah, but this right here, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, bro, listen, if that is your conviction, rock with it, lean with it, whatever, like
Rock
whatever.
with it.
Yeah, yeah, lean with it, rock with it. Yeah, I feel it. But like, don't just bestow your convictions on somebody else, because because that's the part of the
Mm-hmm.
gospel that you choose to follow. you know that's the part of the gospel that you choose to follow. So you're going to push that on everybody. You need to look this way. Well, okay, all right, well, what about this part of the
Mm-hmm.
gospel? And
That
and,
says,
and
"Come as you are."
yeah, right, yeah, all who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest, right? So they're, I guess they're probably saying that I would have a lot more energy if I dress nice. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't know. I
that's
feel
what
like
it
you'd have
is.
less energy.
I do too. I definitely have less range of motion. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that much.
Can't lift my arms above my head, but
This
it's
is
fine.
true.
Yeah.
I did a wedding yesterday, and I opted no tie, but I did put the suit on yesterday, and like, it's just, there is no range of motion, man. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, golly, like, no wonder preacher suits most of the time are like 4 times bigger than what they are. Not because they're fat, but they
Mm-hmm.
are. But no,
Yeah.
but
The
literally,
buttons tell a different story.
yeah, but like literally, like whenever
Yeah.
you, like, if you're charismatic in any way possible, like, you start
Mm-hmm.
flailing them arms around and stuff, man.
We be wearing clothes that limit the Holy Spirit.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. So I feel that,
Mhm.
but yeah, man. Like, we look at things. I wanted to read the next part of today, but it said, "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. Barabbas, they answered. Matthew 27:21. 22 says, "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" And Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." My next question was today was, can you love people, and can you sacrifice for people who aren't praying for you?
Mhm.
Now that's
Tough.
tough. That's very tough. You have people that you come across, man, that you pray for and things like that, and it's like, I'll just be 1,000% with you. You have to be a
Mhm.
fool to think that every person you come across or that you meet, you have to be a fool to think that every person that sits in your church is praying for you. You got to
Mhm.
you got to be a fool, man. It's that's
Mhm.
not the case. You've got people who generally and genuinely
Mhm.
love you, pray for you. But there's also some people who come to church because it's the right thing to
Mhm.
do. They come to church because
They can act out Desperate Housewives.
yeah, well,
Let's
yeah, yeah.
gossip about everybody
Oh
and
yeah,
play
I didn't
around.
know
Yeah.
what avenue you was going with that, but I was going to agree with you
Yeah.
and go
Yeah.
on,
I mean,
man.
I
But
could have gone a different way, but I don't. I don't.
I was like, dang, we sleeping with
Yeah. I
everybody,
was gonna
or
say
what are
we'll
we
avoid
doing,
that side
bro?
of it,
Like,
but hey,
So yeah, I mean, but like, you got to be a fool to think that, man. But like, on the other flip side of that, if I only pray for the people who's praying for me, and I had to remind the church today, like Jesus said, it takes no faith to bless the people that you know is going to bless you in return.
Mm-hmm.
It takes no faith to pray for the people that you know is going to pray for you in return, that you know is going to be there for you. But yet over in the book of James it says that the purest ministry, that the purest form of ministry is to be able to witness and to help and to be a part of the widows and the orphans.
Mm-hmm.
The people that can't
Have
do
nothing to
nothing
give
for
to
you.
you.
Yeah, they can't do nothing for you. They can't give nothing back. And whenever you start talking about things like that, like people chirp out on ministry real quick because oh well, I'm in the ministry to get something out of it. Well, bro, you in the ministry for the wrong reason then, because ministry is all about giving. It's all about sacrifice. It's all about, and not just to the select few, but to anybody that comes across your path. Like everybody is an opportunity, and
That's tough. I mean, I
I
think
we don't see it that way.
yeah, I'm getting like this image in my head, because I mean, I say image, but I've seen it, I've heard it. There's people in there's people in the country, that I know of people who consider themselves Christians that would look at someone and say you. You know what I mean? Like they'll look at somebody and say they're gross, they're despicable, they're going the exact opposite. They look at somebody and they could never have a conversation with them because they can't even look at them. And it's just like,
well, are they truly a Christian?
Yeah, and
they identify.
It's tough. And I had the conversation with the kids downstairs today. I was talking about like the difference between a hard heart and a soft heart. And I was talking about if you're somebody who you say a prayer, you give your life to Christ, but your heart doesn't change. Mm-hmm. You have to ask yourself, did you truly give everything to Christ in that moment? Did you really did you really give your life to Christ, or did you just say something to get out of jail free card type situation?
Right.
You really have to ask yourself, if you are more willing to make fun of someone than pray for them, if you're more willing to you like throw up when you look at somebody rather than go to lay hands on them, it's dangerous because like I think there's so many people out there that they preach, I will pray for anyone, I love everybody, God has a plan and purpose for everybody, and those are the same people who walk past somebody who's wearing a rainbow flag on their shirt and just cuss them out or call them gross, or or sees who sees a black guy in the store and just immediately thinks they're going to go steal something, or who sees it's just like these little they call them microaggressions, but it's just like we have these mentalities, these mindsets in our heads that we may not even be aware of sometimes. But it's ultimately up to us to ask ourselves, do I have, biases? Are there people out there that I wouldn't pray for? Like if I was faced with that situation and I had to choose praying for this person or this person, well, this person looks like me, this person walks like me, this person is coming to church every week.
This person goes to my church.
This person goes to my church. This one's a member. Or this new person who came off the street who's wearing rags and smells like they've been drinking all morning. Who am I going to pray for?
Right.
God, they might have bed bugs. I'm gonna walk over here. I ain't gonna touch them. Somebody else. That's somebody else's job. It's somebody else's responsibility. Newsflash: it's your job. It's your responsibility.
Bed bugs are tough, bro.
They are tough, but hey, do you trust in a God to protect you from all things or not? Right? If you're doing His will your way, and little bed bugs may be worth saving somebody from hell. Hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
How many people are afraid of walking out doing homeless ministry because of that? How many people are afraid of going into all these different rehabs and facilities because of that? We're just we know what the mandate is, that we refuse to do part of the mandate. It says go into all the nations. How many people would refuse? They'd see somebody wearing is it see? I can't remember what they're called. Like the head dressings that Muslim women wear. They see somebody wearing that, they're like, I ain't gonna talk to them.
I'd have to Google that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, not to go on for a big rant as I already have, but, but I think, to me, it's just, it's wild to think because, I think it's easy for everybody to say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't bypass somebody. And those are and some of those people are people that I have heard. You would, and you do.
Yeah.
I have watched it. I have seen it. I have heard it. You are, and you would. You would walk past that person in a heartbeat to get to that person who goes to church with you.
Right.
There's, I think we have to challenge ourselves in those situations, to really think, hey, if I saw, at Walmart, there were two families that needed groceries, I'm going to pay for the one that looks like me, or are you going to pay for the one over there who's just struggling by themselves?
Yeah.
It's just like we have all these different things that, we're presented with the opportunity to show God's love to all people, but we choose a select few people to show it to.
Yeah.
And that just goes against everything, And I'm not saying, again, as the Bible says, we aren't supposed to call out sin for sin, all that sort of stuff. But what I am saying is that, nobody's going to listen to you if you attack them. If the first thing they hear out of your mouth is an attack.
That's exactly actually what I said today. I said, if you start the conversation with, if you do not believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. End of story. I don't know. I mean, that might work for you, but I kind of likened it to those people we always like to talk about on the square or on the corners, just yelling at you. Like repent, repent. Like you're ending the conversation before the conversation is even started. If you're just like, yo, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell. See you later. Like I don't even know if I would call it a seed.
No, it's not a seed. To me, it's a floss water.
Yeah,
like
I mean, you're not planting anything at that point. It's just more like it's almost more or less like you're just scorching the earth. You're burning off. Whatever the case.
And it
may
says,
be.
the Bible says that it's God's job to prune the branches. It's not our job to prune the branches.
Yeah.
It's God's job to prune the branches. And it's just. I think about, we made this conversation a couple of times before, but it's just like, imagining, how many things on your Facebook feed. So how many things that you have posted on Facebook this week or last week, especially during this election time, how many things have you posted in the last week or two on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else that, if you were to go back and look at it and ask yourself, would someone who doesn't think like me or vote like me, would they come to Jesus? Or would they even be interested in a conversation about Jesus based on what I just posted?
Yes.
It's just like
that's kind of what you're asking.
No.
I'm sorry.
But it's just kind of like that. The mentality, it's like, I think, and it's tough. It is tough. I mean, because there are people, and I'll just be honest. Typically Christians will swing more right wing, and so some of the things that I've seen posted on there, I know that there are people now that I'm never going to talk to that person. The way that they're posting, the
You're
things that they're posting. No, I said there are people who think that.
Okay.
But it's just like, if I were not a Christian and I'm looking through someone's Facebook feed and all they're posting about how God has chosen, Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, he's going to save the country. But in my head, my history, how I know Donald Trump, how my family talks about him, how my people talk about him, is that he's a racist, a homophobic, a bigot, a hateful, angry, terrible, no good, very bad person, a rapist, or whatever else. If that's no, you've got to stop making this personal.
I'm sorry, man.
But I'm
trying to keep up.
If my history comes to, this is how I see this person, right? Like my history, my family, vilifies this person. They, sees this person as a horrible, no good person, and you're posting about him all the time alongside posting about Jesus. Why would I want anything to do with that Jesus? If that Jesus chose this man to do, whatever else, why would I, somebody who thinks this man is no good, very bad, evil, why would I want anything to do with that Jesus? And it's things that we post, things that we say sometimes that, I think have more implications than we realize when we're saying or posting those things.
Yeah, well, we, even in service, we talked today about like we're gonna stand before God one day, and he's gonna, I mean, like he's gonna let us know what's up.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna give us our rights, he's gonna give us our wrongs, and I said today, like, are we gonna be known as the people who draw people to the kingdom of God? Or I mean, like he may look at you and be like, you sent more people to hell than what you did help get into heaven. And I'm like, are you prepared to hear those words? Do you want to hear those words? And because we have to be careful about what we're saying, what we're doing, things, what we're posting, all that good stuff. And I even had to like I had to learn, man. I did. I had to learn that. True story. And this was like actually family related. I guess you could call them family. I don't know, but anyways, like family related, man. This was back during COVID, and just a stupid lapse of judgment on my end. And if you ever hear me like take the blame for something, it's pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, you're like, yeah, Keaton messed up. Just a stupid lapse of judgment, man. I'm sitting in the Taco Bell drive-through, which is stupid lapse of judgment enough as it is. I deserved it that day, bro. I deserved it.
You had crap coming out both ends. Apparently,
yeah, man. But it was during COVID and stuff, and the governor had posted something, and like it wasn't like what I said wasn't like crazy, like just extremist or anything like that, but I just kind of threw my opinion out there. And, if you heard anything about me, and you know anything about me, then, I mean, it was
Blunt.
blunt. Yeah. And I don't mince words. And, there was two or three people that got on there and then just started in, and this, that, and the other. And of course, you know how people always love the, well, you're a pastor. I mean, it's like they start with that. Like it doesn't matter what's going on. It's like you're a pastor. Like if you're a pastor, you're perfect. And it's like
Can't make
no,
mistakes.
yeah, you can't make mistakes. You can't have. But I learned in that moment and instance that if I open my mouth and I make it publicly known that I automatically cut off the rights to have a conversation with people who don't believe like I do. And I had to learn from that point of being like, you know what, like a political figure is not worth me losing the right to talk to people about going to heaven. It's not.
Yep. And I
Uh,
think I've had that same, I mean, like
yeah,
I guess same awakening.
yeah, a political
Of things.
party. I mean, like things like that. Like I don't, man, like just whatever is floating around. I mean, as far as like it don't have to be politics. It could be whatever. But I mean, like it doesn't. It's not worth me losing that right to talk to people, to engage with people. To have a conversation with people, to listen to people, and not say, "Hey, you're right," or "Hey, you're wrong," or "Hey, whatever," but to just again what we have posted up here on our walls, this listen, learn, and love, this these words that we put over here, we believe in. It's like I want to, and you'll be proud of me, but like today, I asked them, I said, how many people, by show of hands, somebody asked you how you were doing and somebody said they were doing bad, and you want to know how many people raised their hands?
Zip.
Zip, none whatsoever. Absolutely zilch. I said, isn't it crazy that we all are broken? We all have tough weeks. We all are battling and we all have stuff going on. But every person we talk to on Sunday mornings, we're doing great. We're doing
It's
fantastic.
like I
we're
greeted
doing.
you at church this morning. You said you're doing good, but you're up here at the altar crying your eyes out.
So,
Like,
what
happened?
are we doing?
Yeah,
What
like,
happened in the
did you just
37
get a
minutes?
text message saying your dog died or something? Like, what happened?
What do we need to do, man?
Yeah.
What do we need to do? And so I was like, we are so afraid, and this is going to bring me into my next point, but we're so afraid to be vulnerable, and to have that conversation. So watch this. It says that they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. So I'm talking stripped. I'm talking, like stripped naked. All right, and put a robe on him, and then twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on his head. And they put a staff in his right hand, and then they knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" they said. They spit on him again. They took the staff, struck him on the head again and again. And after that, they mocked him. They took off the robe and put his own clothes on him, and then they led him away to crucify him. And my question was, my next question was, can you still love people and be vulnerable at the same time? Can you still love people but be who you are? That's not be this fictitious, shell of a person, not be somebody that you think other people are going to like, but to be vulnerable enough to say, I love you, but hey, man, like I am going through some stuff today. I am struggling with some stuff today. I've got some anxiety going on. I've got some depression. I've got some anger issues. Got some addiction rolling in my life. Like why are we so afraid to have it's so bad, Nick, that we won't talk about it, but we'll fill out a connection card or prayer request card, like is
An anonymous one.
an anonymous one, and we're not even like I don't even blame that on the people. I blame that on the church, bro. Like, like why did we make a prayer card, a connection card,
unspoken prayer request?
But isn't that crazy that we've made that like an option? And it's like,
I think it's John Chris. He had the joke: "Have we made getting saved too easy?"
Yeah, it's like so we want you to say you're fine. So, but then it's like we don't want you to come to the altar, but we want you to be not fine, so you can fill out this card. And it's like it's this really horrible like cycle. And I'm thinking to myself like, nobody wants to be vulnerable anymore. Nobody wants to be vulnerable, because why? Because
people suck.
it's true, but I think it really boils down to people don't want to be vulnerable, man, because we have this facade. We have
Mm-hmm.
this. It goes back to that. If you're a pastor, people are so quick to just tear you apart.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't think Jesus was getting ridiculed and torn apart at this moment in time, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't stop him from being vulnerable. It didn't stop him from doing the process. And I think that's like where for Christians, man, like we have like why do we come to church? I mean, we've asked this question. Why do we come to church? Why do we do this for? Like we have to be vulnerable. We have to be able to connect and have conversations. Talking to the couple that was here before we started taping today, like they've got parents that are atheists. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like they've got parents that have been absent in life. They've got situations going on where there's a lot of conflict and stuff because they choose to believe Jesus and
Mm-hmm.
they choose to come to church and they choose to worship and it causes conflict. And so instead of watch me or maybe somebody else maybe being judgmental and stepping back and going, wonder why haven't they invited more people? Wonder why their family don't come? Wonder are they not professing their faith and stuff like that? It's like, no, actually, it's right the opposite, jackass.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are actually choosing to live their faith boldly, and because they are, it is causing a
Mm-hmm.
friction and causing people to maybe look at their life differently than what they truly are. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but without us, and I'm not saying it's my fault. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. But like, if they become more vulnerable, if I become more vulnerable, if we all become more vulnerable, like then we can really start. I feel like fixing some situations in people's lives.
Yeah, and it is tough, because I mean, it's we live in a society that we're just so worried about what someone else thinks, what someone
True.
else does, and a big problem with that, and I was actually, I don't know, I mean, I don't know really why I had this thought this morning, but I think it was on the way driving here to church. I was just thinking, I said, there are so few people in my life that I could be like, if I told them something, I know that their only priority would be to pray and help me with it. If I'm like, if I were to
I'm
tell,
gonna laugh at you.
why are you gonna laugh at me? Oh no, I was like, what did I do?
No,
But
it depends on what it is.
but I mean, I think it's like,
I would pray for
the
you.
heart position. I think,
Yeah.
like I know that there's so few people that have the correct heart position. Where you can laugh at me, joke with me, make fun of me, but ultimately you care about me.
Yeah.
And it's just there's so few people that I was sitting there thinking as I was driving to church this morning. I was like, if I were to confess something to this person or that person, I can't say that I would trust that they would keep it to themselves,
Mhm.
in a fact of, hey, I'll tell somebody else so they can help pray for you. No, it would be, I'm going to tell somebody else, did you hear that they're struggling with so and
Yeah.
so?
Yeah.
Did you hear that their marriage is so and so? Did you hear that this is so and so? And it is tough, because as you think, if I think of that, granted, most people aren't as connected as you or I would be in church, as far as knowing people, talking to people, getting to know, all those sorts of things. But if we feel that way,
Yeah.
imagine how much more the disconnected people feel.
Right.
I don't want to be vulnerable because I don't know who to trust. I don't know who I can tell this to. I don't know who I can tell this struggle to. And so that's why we come up to these altars on Sunday, afternoons, and we're praying these basic general prayers because nobody tells us exactly what they're struggling with. We just have to, we're basing, I'm up here praying for people based on what I hear you say, thinking that this person must be struggling with something that you were mentioning. So I'm going to pray over them based on what you were talking about and hope that that it's speaking to them and that they're getting it. But it's just like, I don't know that this person is coming up to the altar because they're struggling with addiction. I don't know that this person's coming up to the altar because their marriage is falling apart. I don't know if this person's coming up to the altar because they made a bad grade in school this week. I don't know what these
Shout
individual
out Gaines.
people, right? Shout out Gaines. Hey, he's been on the podcast the whole episode.
Yeah. Right.
But I think it's just it's important for us as Christians to make sure the people that are walking through these doors feel safe enough to confess what they're dealing with. Like I don't want I hate the fact that I walk into a church where I don't know if I can trust my problems with certain people. I mean, it's just like, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be that way everywhere. It's the same
It
way
is.
that I don't get plugged in at workplaces because I don't want people in my workplaces to know my business because they are likely to use it against you.
Well, I
You
think
know.
I agree with that, but I think too that starts with the people on the stage being vulnerable,
Mhm.
and there's Lord help.
Well, they have to
I
have
mean,
leadership.
Yeah, Lord help. I will say this: there's not a lot of things that I get right in life. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, but one of the few things that I do feel like that I get right is to be vulnerable on this stage from
Mm-hmm.
this pulpit with people, and to let them know that just because I'm preaching to them doesn't mean that I'm not hearing what I'm saying as
Mm-hmm.
well. And I tell people all the time, and I'll say this to the bitter end, that I never preach a sermon that I don't need to hear myself. So when I preach, I'm not only preaching to the church, I'm not only preaching to the people online, but I'm preaching to myself. And so like a message like today where I'm sitting here talking about, this love test or whatever you want to call it, this corrective action or whatever, like, I'm looking at myself and going, man, like how much more patient do I need to be with
Mm-hmm.
people? How much more kind do I need to be with people? How much, I need to leave people better off than when I found them. Like I can't, like I don't just need to tell people about Jesus and then just run off. But I need to listen to people. I need to be there for people. I need to be a shoulder for people, and things like that. And again, that starts with, people are only gonna people are only gonna speak about what they feel safe about.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to earn that safety, and you have to earn that trust, and you have to earn that field of that. So how do you do that? Well, it starts by, it's almost like negotiation tactics. Almost, it's like I give you a little, you give me and then you
Mm-hmm.
just start going
That's
back
how you
and
build
forth.
relationships.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah, you just start going back and forth type situation. And so, like, people aren't going to be safe or feel safe to talk to you unless they know that it's like, oh, okay, you struggle
Mm-hmm.
too. Well, bro, okay, well, what do you struggle with? All right, well, here's what I struggle with. What do you struggle with? Oh, okay, well, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have that conversation. But the point I was trying to make with asking people about, if you're doing good and everybody's good and all that, we're setting an unfair standard to people who are struggling. Like we're setting an, because if you ask everybody in this place and they're doing good, but one person is not, and they're broke down and they're crying and they're literally overwhelmed, you know what they're going to think about the other 114 people that are sitting? They're
Mm-hmm.
going, God, is it
Mm-hmm.
me? Like, am I the only one? Like, I don't want to get up and go to the altar. 115 people are doing fine, and I'm the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, if we are putting it on Front Street and being vulnerable, and some things are like I put in that little clip text today, like vulnerability and embarrassment. Because if you are vulnerable about things, things may be embarrassing, but embarrassing is good because that's an avenue. Like you're feeling something,
Mm-hmm.
whenever you come at it and you're like, yeah, man, I've been really angry this week. So angry, I punched a hole in the wall. That might be embarrassing now, but at least you feel something in order to work on it and get better at it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's a way you got to flip it and think about it. Like when you verbalize it, you may be
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed by it, but you're getting it out so God can work on it, so
Mm-hmm.
God can work through it. And yeah, man. I mean,
It's one thing the Catholics get right, those little confessional booths.
oh yeah, I was like, whoa, where are we going with this, man? Like,
Yeah,
what's happening?
just I mean, doctor, little box. The only person hearing you is the priest, and you're able
Yeah,
to confess and get out,
yeah.
what you've been dealing with. And I think there's a little bit of goodness that can be found in that.
There is,
Being
man.
being able to just be all open
Just
and honest.
talk.
Yep.
Yeah, just to have a conversation. And,
Yeah.
and maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something that scares people.
Mm-hmm.
Is the ability to, whenever we do altar calls, to come down here. You'll have to go back and watch the sermon, man. But I know you will. But it's
I need to. I
yeah.
know.
but but I said it's crazy to me, and this is the vulnerability part. I said, it's crazy to me that the only time that people ever leave, when it is? During altar
Mm-hmm.
call. It's when altar call
I got what I
starts.
needed. I'm gonna leave. See
Yeah,
y'all
it's
later.
like, well, I don't know if it's really the fact of getting what you need, or it's the fear of being vulnerable in that
Mm-hmm.
point, because
It's uncomfortable.
yeah, it's like, oh man, it's like, oh, and I asked the question. I said, so you're leaving because what? Because the thing that you have to do that's so important just magically or miraculously fell at the same time that the altar call started?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you just leave before?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you
Or
leave
after.
halfway through it? Or why didn't you leave afterwards? Why did you even plan it to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Or why did you even show up to begin with?
I never know how long they're gonna pray. I need to
Yeah.
go get the Golden Corral.
I mean, yeah. Shout out Golden
Oh,
Corral, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm like, you want to know why people leave? It's because of
Mm.
vulnerability. People don't want to leave, or I'm sorry, people don't want to stay, and they don't
Mm.
want to be vulnerable. And because of that, you see people. It's like, oh, and I made the joke. I was like, it's like as soon as I say "all rise," it's like, and they start playing the music. People are like,
Yep.
oh no, God, I got to get my stuff together
While
real
everybody's
quick.
standing, I'm gonna grab my stuff on the
Yeah,
way up,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
walk out the door with the momentum.
Yeah,
Just
and I
like,
said it's funny because today probably the only day where nobody left,
uh,
like during it because I called it out, and I said, or they'll just wait till we bow our heads and start praying. It's like, okay, go, hurry up, yeah, hurry up. Maybe you won't notice we're gone, But people, man, people just don't want to be vulnerable. People don't want
Mhm.
to be invulnerable because they do. They feel like they're
Mhm.
embarrassed by it. I'm struggling with this. I'm going through this, and it's like, bro, we all are. Like if church was just a good therapy session, man, you know how much growth there would be in a church, bro. If
Mhm.
if we all just came in this place and was crying and was snotting and was like, bro, I've been at it this week. Like I have worked my hind end off. Like I'm stressed. Like my finances are stupid. Like I've fought with my spouse all week. My kids are going crazy. Like I'm addicted to this. I'm broken with it. Like if we were to just come in here and be like, oh, okay, really? Like, oh man, I tell you what, like, yeah, let's pray
Mhm.
about that, bro. Like let's start like let's get this stuff out. Like, dude, church would be crazy.
Church would be church.
Church would be church.
Church would be church.
Church would be church, man.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll call church. Church will be church.
Church would be church.
But no, I think it's just it is important for each and every one of us to come in here with the mentality of I'm going to be vulnerable today,
Mm,
and it's also the responsibility for the other people, to be good stewards of the information they've been given.
yeah.
Like I'm not. I'm going to, hey, you told me you're struggling with this. I'm not going to use that against you. I'm not going to go over here after church and talk to so and so about it, and make me feel better about my struggles, because they're struggling worse than I am this week. Like that's not how we need to be about it. And again, not to say that we haven't all been guilty of doing that from time to time. It's just all. I mean, it's what I was telling the kids downstairs today. It's all about trying to do better.
Mm,
And maybe I was somebody who gossiped all the time. Maybe I was somebody who did this all the time or did that all the time. And God's will for my life now that I've given my life to Christ should be one of progress or progressively getting better.
yeah.
Some people have that miraculous transformation where everything goes away. They don't gossip, or I don't know. So everybody gossips. They don't drink no more. They don't smoke no more. They don't do all these different things they struggle with. But for most people, it is a progressional thing. Like it takes time
Yeah.
to get away from who they used to be. They in the baptism, you go down and you die from who you used to be, and you're raised into something new. Sometimes that new creation isn't quite as shiny new as you want it to be. There's still a couple spots you got to wash off. There's still some things you got to get taken care of.
We got
And
some baptisms coming up next
yeah,
week too.
hey, awesome. And it's just like I think it's important. For all the things that we've been talking about. It's ultimately important for everybody to be aware and to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
To be aware of what they're saying, how it's affecting the people around them. Think before you react. Think before you act. Think before you post. Think before you comment. Think before think before you do anything. And actually pray before you do anything.
That's
That and it'll save you a lot of time, effort, and headache. It'll save you a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. As Keenan was saying, I've been there too. Where there's been times that I've posted things on social media, back several years ago, that were inflammatory and that were pointed and directional
We're
and
not talking about
angry. And
arthritis either.
I know we are not. I've got that coming up, I'm sure, but it's just I've said those things, and I can remember I have people who do not talk to me anymore because of things that I've posted and said.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help to think some people could say, well, you're better off because of it. Well, as we've had this conversation, I'm thinking, well, have I missed that person?
Yeah.
Have I missed my opportunity and chance to be
Yeah.
a witness to this person because they cut me off 7 years ago because of something I said on
And
Facebook?
I will vouch for Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
He has grown a little bit because now instead of commenting, he sends me screenshots
Of
of
what I wanted to
everything of
comment.
what he wants to comment on.
Yeah,
And he's like, I want to comment so
yeah.
bad.
Talk me off a ledge.
Yeah, he's like, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
So
But yeah,
so yeah,
that's.
I mean, but that's that. But I
Mhm.
mean, like we joke about that, but I mean that is growth because like you still could be that person who's out there like saying, let me interject my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, we say this all the time. Opinions have never gotten anybody to heaven, and they never will.
Mm-hmm. A Facebook post has never changed how I vote.
Yeah.
It's like yard sign has never changed how I vote.
Yeah.
A sign on the side of the street saying "Repent" has never changed where I'm going for the rest of my life.
This is true.
It's just think about the impact of what you're doing and saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, that could be seen in a lot of different ways. Are you impacting someone negatively, positively? Are you impacting their salvation experience? Are you impacting their reverse salvation experience?
Right.
Hey, just be aware of the impact of what, your words, your posts, your comments, your this, that, and the other, the shirts you wear, everything you do, how you behave around certain people, how you talk around certain people, the things you say about certain people, the comments you make about certain people, the way you look at certain people,
Well,
all of these things
yeah,
have impact.
and I think we also need to understand too that our crowd, our audience, is not the saved; it's the lost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So,
I don't want to spend my time looking good for the saved that I lose the lost.
yeah, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or appeasing the
Mm-hmm.
saved that I missed the lost in the process, and I think that is definitely mind blowing. I think it's revolutionary for two small town dudes to come up with,
Especially in the town we live in.
yeah, right. And yeah, I mean, if we had a Rogan style platform, maybe it might get out, a little bit easier, a little bit quicker.
Okay, to boost it on Facebook.
But that's the case. Is that our audience is not the saved people. I mean, I think it's good to disciple people. I think it's good to grow people. I think it's good to preach messages for the saved. But our audience is the lost. Our audience is the people who have no clue about Jesus' grace, love, and mercy. And I mean, that's honestly why we rebranded the platform and the podcast for. I mean, we call this the Everyday Christian for like the first year and a half probably. And it was like, we had to step back and go, well, I mean, we're basically telling saved people how to live. Well, here's the deal. If you're saved, you should know how to live because you read the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like I shouldn't have to come on here and tell you how to live your life every day if you're saved. Like you have the Bible, you have a relationship with Christ, you can pray, you can read, decipher. But these lost people out here who have no idea about His grace, love, and mercy, about an eternity, about forgiveness, about joy and peace, things like that, man. Like that's the people we're getting that we're getting in the trenches for. That's where we're going, to reach those people. And it's like, so, if we're doing things, saying things or whatever to appease the people we have in the pews or whatever, then it's like, hey man, like what are we doing? At that point, it's back to running that country club we talk so much about. That golf clap. Everybody looks like us, and we're just here to drink our tea and say that we've done something good for today.
But hey, at least the country clubs raking the money.
Well, they do.
They do rake that in.
And we are not a country club.
Absolutely not.
We are not. We are so not a country club that the lady who does our finances literally walked over to me today and she said, "I need your tithe." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Our tithe sucked today. I need your tithe." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, fantastic. Here it is." So I cover 22% of the tithe again. So
that's what we do.
That's what we do in this
That's
place,
what
bro.
we do.
That's what we do. Shout out, shout out. So, but yeah, man. I mean, I've said all I needed to say today. I have one more point, but I mean, I feel like we could talk about this all day, but it's pride. I feel like that we let our pride get in the way a lot of times of loving people. There was a point in time in there where Jesus was carrying the cross. It's over in 27 and 32 over in Matthew. It says, as they were going out, they met a man from, I'm going to say Cyrene. I don't know if that's how you say it or not. But anyway, Cyrene. Yeah. So I never claimed to be a biblical scholar of pronunciation, but named Simon. And it says they forced him to carry the cross with Jesus, and I was telling the church, I was like, here's Jesus, Savior of the world, going to defeat death, hell, and grave in 3 days, literally coming back for his church one day, performed many miracles, brought people back from the dead and everything else. At any point in time, Jesus could have looked up and said, "No, I got this. No, I don't. Well, I'm Jesus. I'll carry this cross." But instead, he made room, and Simon helped carry the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it,
Humbles
it
you.
it does humble you, and not only that, like I was telling people today that it's like, man, if and I'm not saying Jesus needed help, but what I am saying is that Jesus allowed himself to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The King of the universe can accept help, so can you.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, man, it's like whenever we let our pride get in the way, I was telling Nick before we got started, it's like we wear the struggle like a badge of honor. Like
Mm-hmm.
the heavier the cross is, we're like, look at me. I, I'm down to my last breath and my last step, and and
I've
it's
worked
like,
27 hours
yeah,
today. I've worked harder than
yeah,
anybody else out there. I
yeah,
don't get to eat. I don't get to sleep. I don't get to have kids. I don't get to have.
nothing.
Like,
It's
I
like,
haven't played video games in 6 months. Like,
man,
mm-hmm.
so we wear it like a badge of honor, or it's, and then people are like, can I help? No, absolutely not. I got this, and
Everything I have is because of my hard work and my
yeah,
dedication and
yeah,
grit.
yeah. And it's like, man, it's like let's take this a step back really quick,
Mm-hmm.
and people. I've never, man, and as a pastor, and like I feel like again, this is something that I can really speak to is that if anybody's ever come to me with an idea, or if anybody's ever come to me with something, been like, hey, been like, I think like this and this, I'm like, are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, all right, man, like you do it, like let's roll, like let's see what happens. Because like I don't like, contrary to popular belief, I don't want to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally, like I would just love, this is amazing, but I would love to show up and just shake hands and preach.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like so if you're looking for or if people are like, hey, I need something to do in the church, just come see Pastor Keenan, man. I'll give you
Mm-hmm.
something to do. Today, no joke, man. Shout out to my dad. Shout out to William J. WJ, man. Like literally, he run the slides for me for a little bit today, man. My dad's like 70 some odd years old.
I know.
He just
I
got a
don't think he's
cell phone.
ever touched a
I was
MacBook in
gonna
his
say
life
he
until
literally,
today.
like he literally uses the computer to check out who died and lottery numbers.
That's what most people used to use the radio for.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, like, and he don't listen to the podcast, so I can say that kind of stuff and get away with it. But yeah, man, like he is not technologically advanced at all. Him or my mom.
Now
Either
next
one.
week he's gonna come in with a Carhartt beanie and a backwards
I'm
hoodie with
down
like
for it, bro.
jeans.
I'm here for that party.
I
If
touched
he
one
does.
MacBook and it changed my life.
If it does, I'm here for it. But yeah, man, like he set up there and chased slides for a little bit today, man, and I'm like, that's amazing, that's fantastic. Not just that it's my dad, but that
The willingness to do something out of your comfort zone.
way out, man, way out. Like he came upstairs, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you okay right now? Like,
I was gonna say, I don't
why
think I've
are
ever
you
seen him
up
climb
here?
the stairs.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
surprised.
I'm like, why are you up here? And he's like, I'm gonna do the slides. I was like, what? I was like, what? You're doing what?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He's like, he said Gaines is gonna do the. He's gonna do the offering, and he's like, he said, I'm gonna do the slides while he's doing the offering, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
I
my
came
goodness.
downstairs and told one of the kids that kind of helps out with it from time to time, and I was like, hey, Keenan's dad's doing the slides. You may want to go help if you notice the slide hasn't changed in like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I was like,
I was just blown away, man. I was like, but that's again a testament to, like, yeah, man. Like I don't. I don't want to do everything. I don't want to change slides. I don't want to do offerings. I don't want to do, like, like I just want to do what I'm supposed to do, which is shake hands, preach, and be a shepherd and be a pastor, and and things like that. But so don't get me wrong, bro. I used to, like, I used to carry a cross and be like, yeah, my
I'll
cross
do it
is
all.
so
Look at
heavy.
me.
And I mean, and my
Mhm.
mentality is that, yeah, the cross does get heavy, but like at the end of the day, if nobody else will do it, I will do it. I have no shame in that. Like, I will preach from the bathroom while I'm cleaning the toilet. I don't care. And make a sermon out of it, somehow or another.
Where's Keenan? He's cleaning the toilet. Don't you hear that?
Yeah, while he's in there sweating and slaving. But that
Just
pride
dropped the mic in the
issue,
toilet.
right? That pride issue, man, gets so many people, especially when it comes to the love thing, especially loving your enemies and things like that. But I want to shut it down with this: is the fact that Jesus said one of the most powerful commandments. And I heard a pastor say this not too long ago, that we read the Bible like it's suggestions and not commandments. And I was like, "Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
come on, dog! Like, don't come after us like that." But it's so true. But he told us. He said, "You will be known by the love you have for me and the love you have for others.
Mm-hmm.
For other people." And I asked the church today. I said, "Who is other people?" And they're like, "Well, everybody, Keenan." And I'm like, "That's the super Christian answer to say. That's what you're supposed to say while you're in church." But I'm like, who other people is to us? Our family, our friends, the people who make us feel safe, the people who come to church with us, the people who agree with us, the people who share the same political beliefs as us, or whatever. I said, it's those people. But I said, Jesus said others, like everybody, no matter what, like how you treat other people, man. And so I mean, let's whenever we go back and we look at Jesus doing what he done with that cross, I could never take his
Mm-hmm.
place, but I can look at what he done and be like, I need to be more like that. What do I have to do, to be
Mm-hmm.
more like that?
Yeah, and I think about that song. I'm sitting there trying to think of the name of it, where it's like it should have been me or something like that. It's talking about Jesus up on
It
that
wasn't me.
cross. I don't remember. No, it should have been me, something like that. Or he. That's what. Like he took the
It
nails for
wasn't me.
me, that kind of thing. Not that song. Not that song.
Not
People listen. I
Shaggy.
was gonna say people listen to this should know that song,
Not,
but
not,
no.
yeah.
But no, yeah. It's just where it says like I can't imagine how it felt to look upon his like all those sorts of things
Yeah,
and
I know.
just
I know what you're talking
yeah
about.
I can't place the actual lyrics for some reason all of a sudden. But I just think about that too. Just thinking about looking up and how Jesus took all of our burdens, all of our everything that we are going to go through from that moment till eternity.
Yeah.
He took every single sin, every single bad decision, every single mistake, every single everything. He took it. On that cross, he was tortured upon that cross. He was human. He felt the piercing. He felt the hard breaths that he couldn't. He was struggling to take. All these different things that again we talk and joke all the time. We as Christians don't know what real persecution is.
Mm.
We don't know what it's like to have a thorn crown shoved on our head. We don't know what it's like to have our back whipped with iron tipped flails so bad that it rips our skin apart and bone is exposed. Like we don't know what that feels like. But this person voted Democrat, so I don't know what to do about him anymore. I can't talk to my uncle anymore because he voted for Trump. We feel persecuted, but we're not.
Oh man.
We get so fired up about stuff like that, but it's just we don't know what that really is, what that really feels like. And what we're saying is, that person that voted for Kamala, that person that voted for Trump, that person who wears a rainbow flag on their shirt, that person who's black, that person who's Indian, that person who's this, that person who's Muslim, Jesus got his skin ripped apart for
Yeah.
that person.
Right.
Jesus had thorns shoved on his head for that person. You can't talk to him in Walmart, but Jesus hung on a cross naked for that person.
Yeah.
Come on now.
He don't even know
Come
what
on.
else
I
to
don't. I
say
don't like.
besides "come on
It's
now."
just like it's just like
Come on.
come on.
Yeah.
Like do better, guys.
Do better.
Do better, guys. That's the
We've
PG
already had.
version of what I'm
I
gonna
think
say.
we've already had a title.
We did
Yeah.
do better.
Do
Yeah, it was
better.
already called
But
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like he took the nails for me, but he didn't just take them for me. He took them for those people that you don't want to talk to, those people you don't want to look at, those people you don't want to think about,
Yep.
those people you don't want to empathize with.
Mm.
He took those nails for them. Do better.
Yeah. Absolutely. There you go. He took it. I mean, he done it. He done it for everybody, not just one person, not just a select few, but he loved everybody enough that he did what he did from the beginning until the end, so that we would have a chance and an opportunity to come to know him. And so, yeah, the next time that you're thinking about, retaliating, or thinking about being a bad individual, or thinking about spreading your opinion on Facebook, or
Or if you're mad at us
responding,
for how long this episode is.
who cares, man? Like I said, I'm under the mentality now. I found out how long
People used to be mad.
I found out how long Rogan's podcast is,
Right,
man.
3 hours.
Yeah, so I ain't even watching the time anymore. Like, who cares, man? Like, let's just say what we need to say, and if it's an hour, it's an hour. If it's 12 minutes, it's 12 minutes. Who cares, But we love you so much. We thank you so much. We hope something again was said and done inside of this thing that may help you out a little bit. And until we see you again, we love you so much and be blessed.